would love it if you would tell people, like, what was your experience with vegan and whole food plant-based way of eating before you got started working with me?
So I became a vegan in I think 2018,
Ah,
and um, I was not the healthiest vegan, as I realize now. Maybe I knew then, but I didn't really want to admit it. So I
who,
was still eating.
hold on. Who is on this live stream who also can admit that they are not eating the healthiest vegan diet that they could be eating? Who else agrees with that? Like the junk food vegan, the convenience vegan foods. Okay, Carla, go ahead. I'm
So,
likely going to interrupt you lots of
go-
times.
no problem. So I was, eating a lot of processed food, chips, impossible meat, lots of oil. I think I was addicted to snacking on nuts. So lots of,
Nuts.
fatty, not healthy processed stuff. I mean, there was, some vegetables and fruit in there, of course, but not the healthiest thing that I could be doing. I realize now, of course. So yeah.
Okay, so you were already vegan. So, what happened that made you get serious about this lifestyle? Lots of women want to know. There were some questions in the group from
Yeah.
yesterday's post about why, uh, what pushed you into working with me, getting a coach, getting serious about it.
So in December of 2022, I was diagnosed with uterine cancer
Mhm.
and I had surgery. And at my follow-up appointment with my gynecologic oncology surgeon, I asked her what was the one thing that I could do to try to make sure my cancer didn't reoccur. And she just matter-of-factly said, lose weight.
Ugh,
And I thought, okay.
ugh,
I felt like it was not in a body shaming kind of way, but just in a way that, fat, she explained that fat, creates estrogen and estrogen can cause cancer. And so that made a lot of sense to me. I was a little freaked out about how I was going to do this because I thought, well, I'm a vegan and I haven't lost weight. In fact, I've gained weight, and how am I going to do this? And then I happened to see you and started following you on Facebook, and your story of your breast cancer journey and recovering from that just really resonated with me.
yeah,
And so then, I actually started doing trying to do the program by because you have all this wonderful information.
by
And
yourself. Okay. I think
with your with
lots of women who are on this right now can totally relate to what you're saying because you think, oh, I should be able to do this. It's just food, right? I should be
yeah, and
able to follow this, right?
right. And so I started and I did lose some weight over the course of about a month. And
Mm-hmm.
that was pretty encouraging. But I also felt this sense of urgency that I couldn't really mess around. I had to get on the right track and make sure that over the course of a year, lost this weight because I didn't know if my cancer was going to start coming back, at any
When?
moment.
Right.
Right. And so that's, when I talked to you and we had a conversation and, it was a pretty big monetary commitment. And, I'm not really good at spending a lot of money on myself. And I didn't feel like really comfortable with that. And I had a conversation with my husband and he was super supportive. And he just said, you need to do this. This is what you need to do for your health. He
Yeah.
said, I'm totally supportive. And so that was the beginning of me being a diet rebel and meeting every Wednesday with
Yeah. Uh,
Naomi and all the wonderful women in our group.
and so here's who's on the live stream. Janine is here.
Oh, hi, Janine.
Janine, mwah, mwah, mwah. Hi, Janine. We love you and miss you. Kathleen says hi, and Sharon says hi, Carla and Naomi. She loves your background.
She knows my
Yes,
background.
we love getting all the hearts. Give us lots of hearts and likes. We need that. It's not easy to come on here and admit that we need help and to talk about the whole story why. And that is one of the powerful things about Diet Rebel is that it's a safe space where we can like talk about what's going on in our lives and in our hearts and in our minds that's keeping us stuck so that we can overcome it and move past it. So I asked women to ask questions for you yesterday, and
Right.
Deb asked, how long did you sit on the sidelines watching other diet rebels and thinking about joining this program?
I would say it was about a month.
The month that you were trying to do it by
Yep.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else here can relate? Watching what's going on in this group, trying to do it by yourself? Because I want you guys to try to do this by yourself. I want you to know where you need help, or that you don't need help, or that you do need help. So you got to give it a try, like Carla did. Either way, right? You have to start on your own.
Yeah.
So, and then she said, what was the deciding factor to eating this whole food, plant-based, no oil way and working with Naomi in the Diet Rebel group? What was the one thought?
I think I was nervous that something, I have tried every diet in the book probably over the course
Ah,
of my years, and every time something would happen and I would fail and I would just give up. And I was
um,
afraid that that was going to happen, and I
yeah.
needed to make sure that that didn't happen. I mean, I was just
So,
determined that I had to have support. I knew I had to have support and accountability.
so who can relate to that feeling of having tried every diet under the sun in the world and failing at it? Because I too, before I went whole food, plant-based, no oil, that was 9 years ago for me. And before I did, I also failed at every diet in the book. And I also was 30 pounds overweight my entire adult female life until the breast cancer. Um, and this is not just for cancer. We have women in this group who have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high glucose. They have chronic aches and pains. They have migraines. They have hormonal issues, digestive issues. This is something that can help you overcome and solve all of those health problems. So it's very powerful. Um, Another woman named Shelley said, we always need more clarity on the why of our choices. So your why was like, my life depends on this,
Yeah,
actually. And that's what
yeah,
I thought when I did it as well. Same thing happened to me.
absolutely.
Okay. So also needing support, needing accountability to stick to it. Because, of course, we can all do things for a couple of weeks. Like, who's ever been on a diet for a couple of weeks? We can all do that. We could all lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks if we starve ourselves, right? Who else has starved yourself like that? Oh, just thinking about it makes me
I
feel
know.
sick. Oh,
It's
it's the
awful.
worst. Uh, you know, and then falling back into those old habits and regaining the weight. And we just don't want that to happen again. All right, so let's talk about this whole food, plant-based, no oil lifestyle. If you could boil it all down to one thing, what is the one thing that you now know that you wish you could have told yourself, that by not knowing it, it stopped you from succeeding with the whole food, plant-based lifestyle when you tried it on your own in the past? What's the one
Um,
thing?
I think the one thing is knowing and believing that I can do it with, right information. I think there's
Yeah.
so much misinformation out there, and there's so many things I just didn't know until I started working with you. And now I know, after doing this for a year, and feeling as good as I do, I know that I can do this for the rest of my life.
And you know what you need to know
And I know,
to
yeah,
do it. You
yes.
know all the things. And so that's what we do. We clear up the diet confusion and the nutrition confusion and all of that. And I remember talking to you the first time, and you had some clarity, like boom, right then and there. Oh, the nuts and the oil. Okay.
I mean, I think like for many people, I thought, eating olive oil was healthy,
Yeah.
and then come to realize it's really not. It's just another highly processed food. I mean, that was a huge kind of blow my mind kind of moment, and
Yeah. It's very common.
Yeah, yeah,
It's very common. Most women have an aha moment about, avoiding starches because they think carbs make you gain weight and all that kind of thing. And
right.
we need to like undo all of that. So
Yeah,
you were ready to find out what you didn't know and get it
absolutely.
working for you.
And
And
I'm
that,
excited. I'm not afraid of eating carbs anymore. That's super
oh,
exciting.
it's so exciting. Lisa has a question for you. Let's do the questions just like as we go. Lisa
Sure.
wants to know, did your husband join you on the whole food, plant-based, no oil journey?
So he is, no, not completely. I mean, he eats the food that I make and he loves it, but he is not fully on board. I'm hoping, he has seen my success and he's super impressed, I think, and excited for me. And I'm hoping that I can more in that direction. But, he has to come to that decision himself, like I did for myself. I
Exactly.
can't. Yeah.
And there's no more power that you could have over someone else than to focus on yourself and
Right.
and get those results and heal yourself, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is something that we talked about in a live stream recently, and also in the Plant Power Foodies Club this weekend. My husband Dave came and folded up origami sushi sandwiches with everybody, and then everybody was giving them to their husbands, and people were commenting, "Oh, my husband loved it. My husband folded his own, and he ate two, and it was a win." And it's so fun just to see them try it, just to see them
Yeah.
smelling the food cooking and all that kind of stuff. And that's really what you're doing. You're cooking this beautiful, delicious food. And we have the accountability measure of one new recipe a week, right? And
Right.
so you are going to delight yourself every single week. You're going to improve those cooking skills and you're going to delight yourself, and that helps your husband eat what you're cooking.
Right. And so just a quick experience with him. I made a pasta dish with lots of vegetables and he sat down and he said, "Do you mind if I put some oil on it?" And
Oh
I
yeah, I
said,
remember.
"Well, why don't you taste it first?" And he did, and he said, "Oh my gosh, this is delicious. This doesn't need any oil." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes." So,
Yeah, pasta more hot pot,
yep,
right?
that's it.
That's the one. That's the one. So, okay, so there's lots to learn and unlearn, and we can do the best at that by putting the focus on our own self. And that is what you did.
Yeah.
That is really what you did. You plunked down the money, you said, I have to do this for me, and you did it. All right. So Lisa, I hope that answers your question. So we just, my husband didn't go whole food, plant-based, no oil, or vegan in the first year and a half that I was. Took a year
Yeah.
and a half. I lost all my 40 pounds, and he had his own run-in with high cholesterol and debilitating allergies. And I was getting good at this cooking thing, and he was like, I think I'm going to start eating what you're eating.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just went like that,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
mean, I'm just amazed at how good I feel.
Yeah.
I was there's so that we have this transformation tracker that has lots of different symptoms, and I must have checked off probably 25 different symptoms, and definitely by the end of the 12 weeks, most of those had been resolved, and I feel like I'm 35, maybe 40 years old instead of 61. So I have tons of energy. My joints don't hurt.
She
It's
goes riding miles and miles and
yeah,
hiking miles and miles on the weekends, you guys.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
the one thing that I'm super excited about is I'm almost to the point where I don't need my CPAP machine anymore. So
so
I'm
that is another huge thing because the weight that is laying on your nasal passages and your trachea and your lungs is all but gone. I think you have eight-ish
like I had,
pounds,
yeah,
eight-ish
yeah.
pounds to go to your ultimate weight loss goal.
Mhm.
And as you keep getting down there, you've lost 28 pounds already. So as you keep getting down there, the breathing situation is going to improve. What
Yeah.
were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. It's
Oh,
just exciting to not have to. I hate that thing. I hate that
of
math.
course.
Awful.
I had a client once, and her reason why is because I don't want my CPAP to be my boyfriend.
Right?
That's a visual right there, right?
Hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, Lisa says, yes, living in a house of carnivores, but I'm moving forward on my journey. Yes, you focus on you. Janine says, you look amazing and congratulations, Carla.
Thank you.
Susan says, great job, Carla. Wonderful. Okay. Uh, okay, here we go. What's the one piece of advice you'd give someone desperate to turn their health around and considering the whole food plant-based lifestyle?
I would say do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
What's stopping you from doing it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the one most important piece of information you learned about adopting a whole food, plant-based, no oil way of eating during this program?
I would say that I think people get really overwhelmed. They don't know what to eat, they don't know how to cook anything, and it's just like, how am I going to do this? And, just working with you, you just make it really easy. I mean, it just becomes sort of second nature how to saute some vegetables and plan your meals. I was not excited about making my own menu, let me tell you, but now I love it. I love making
Who
my menu.
else? Who else does not like meal planning or planning at all when it comes to food and eating and meal prepping and planning? Who else is like Carla? Like, I do not want to do that, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
now I find it comforting in a way to know what I'm going to eat, to know that my refrigerator is full of really healthy food, and it just makes
that's
it
yummy.
takes the guesswork out of all of it and just makes it really doable.
It takes the chaos out of it. It
Yeah.
takes the
Yeah,
stress and anxiety, the daily, what am I going to cook for dinner anxiety. Oh,
absolutely.
Lena's here. Lena is somebody from the Thursday group, a diet rebel from the Thursday group. And I remember she had the biggest daily dinner anxiety coming home from work every day. She is the one who said that the most. Um, all right, Kathleen has a question. This is a great question. Besides the awesome food, how much exercise do you do per day?
So I'm very pretty athletic. I walk my dogs every morning. I lift weights like 3 days a week for about an hour. I hike with my friend Sharon, who is on the live stream watching, and other
Yay!
friends. I do long distance cycling, and all of that. But, I mean, in the group, if you join the group, Naomi will tell you you can't rely on exercise to lose the weight. You have to dial in your food intake, and that really was true for me, that it was
Yeah.
really about the food. And for me, I love to exercise. A lot of that for me is stress release,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and so that is, a big key for me. But
Yeah.
I used to have that mindset, oh, I ate too many cookies, so now I should go run, hike 10 miles or something to burn off the cookies, which is not what you want, how you want to be thinking about exercise. So
Right. And when women start this program, we don't focus on exercise at all. I'm not
no,
asking you about exercise. I'm not requiring exercise. I don't say a single thing about it because the truth is it's not as important as dialing in the food, what you just said.
right, right.
All right. So Kathleen, I hope that helps. Okay. And what I also want to say is that there are women who are literally 100 pounds, 50 pounds heavier than you. They don't exercise at all, and they also lose a pound a week.
Right.
So it's a food thing. All right. What's the one most surprising thing you learned about yourself in this journey, in this program, in this work?
I think, so after the 12 weeks, I did a beat emotional eating um 21
Challenge.
day challenge. And I think what I didn't really understand is that, how things in my childhood impacted me emotionally and impacted my relationship with food. And so realizing that there are tools that I could use, when those certain situations would come about, and that really helped me, deal with, you know, those not healthy relationships that I was having with food. And so, that I didn't really know, that there were tools out there that I could use that would be super helpful, and that I would sort of I feel like I've really been able to work through a lot of that, and it's not really an issue for me,
So this is
anymore.
what we mean when we call it a health transformation. So Carla was somebody who was very anxious and very worried and a little bit negative about a relationship that she had in her family. And now she is not anxious in that way and not negative in that way. She has had a transformation and healed the beliefs and the thoughts and the hurt that originally happened from that by accepting it and talking about it and journaling about it and thinking about it. And so, Diet Rebel is a place where we work on that because we need to become a new woman in order to sustain this lifestyle forever,
Right.
right?
Right. So, there's two really, for me, really important aspects to the program. And one is obviously learning how to eat, what to cook, when
The
to eat,
food.
what not to eat, all the food stuff. And then for me, and this is something I hadn't even really thought about, was really the emotional eating piece, and really understanding how that was really impacting not only what I was eating, but my health. And so I just feel like I've just sort of shed a lot of that stress and toxic beliefs that were not serving me. So,
Yeah, it was affecting what you were thinking, and it was affecting self-sabotage and
right.
self-care and your beliefs and all of these things. And you have come through that. But the important thing to note is that you gave yourself the time to
Yeah.
go through that. A woman who just does 6 weeks, gets the food information, and then quits, she didn't give herself the time to continue with the accountability and practicing those habits. And a woman who stops at 12 weeks, she doesn't really give herself the time to think about what caused her to be sick and overweight in the first place and unravel it.
And I'm pretty sure that if I had stopped 12 weeks, I probably would have gained the weight back, because I hadn't done that
Yeah.
emotional work that I really needed to do.
Yeah. And so anybody who has gone through this transformation, uh, anybody who has tried this whole food, plant-based, no oil lifestyle and has gained their weight back or is finding themselves slipping into old habits, that's your cue that you didn't stick in it long enough to unravel what caused it in the first place.
Right.
That's the number one clue. And that's a clue for you going
Yeah,
forward. If you find
absolutely.
yourself gaining more than 3 pounds, say, that's your clue to be like, okay, what's going on, Carla? Right?
Mhm.
What am I
Yep.
doing? Okay. All right. Let's see what else everybody is saying. Lisa says abs are made in the kitchen, not the gym. Cheryl, nice to see you here. Wonderful. Kathleen says it's a journey. That's right. It's not a diet, it's a journey, and we need
And,
to go all the way through.
the one thing I also want to say is, this whole time, I've never felt like I was on a diet. If I felt like on a diet, I would have failed, and I was never, the food is so good, and I'm eating more than I've ever eaten probably, and not having to think about how much you're eating and weighing and measuring and all that was so freeing. And that, I think, made it so I was really open to doing the program because of that. So,
That is my number one edict, which is it has to be delicious. So when
absolutely.
you guys are making menus, I will constantly challenge you. Is that delicious to you? Do you love that? And a lot of times a woman will be like, well, no, I don't really love that. I'm like, then off it goes. And you find something to put on there that you love. Because
Yeah.
how's it going to be a lifestyle if it's not delicious? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
You're so right. Okay. So here's an important one. Here's an important question that many women have. What is the one thing that you noticed about how the weight comes off and how your body responded to the whole food, plant-based, no oil way of eating?
Um, well, I mean, so in the first 12, 14 weeks, I lost 12 pounds and it seemed to come off, sort of effortlessly.
Mhm.
There were several times after that point where I did have some weeks where I didn't lose any weight. And that was a bit frustrating. And I remember, and I thought, oh, I'm doing everything right. And then, of course, we would sort of I would dig a bit with Naomi, and she would, we'd sort of realize, oh, well, maybe, I was eating too late. And that was a big thing for me. It's funny how you get these ideas in your head, like, oh, how can eating later make a difference? But when I started really having dinner earlier, like before 6 o'clock, that made a huge difference in my, sort of continuing weight loss. And also, I think making sure that I was getting enough sleep. That's sort of been an issue for me. So, there were times when it was slow. And I think that is when I would have been like, okay, see, you can't do this. And I would have just given up. But, I was committed and I just kept coming back to the meetings. And, and some weeks you gain a little bit, and we would have this thing that Naomi would have us say would like, even though I gained a half a pound, nevertheless, my joints don't hurt and I feel great and I'm, trusting the process and all that. And that just really helped. Instead of just focusing on a number, there were all these other indicators that I was feeling so much better, you
And my
know.
pants are falling off.
And I was just going to say, and and I've gotten rid of bags of clothes and I'm shopping in my closet because now clothes that didn't fit for a long time fit again. So that's fun too.
We had a woman in the Thursday group named Connie, and one day she came on the meeting, and you know how we do wins of the week, and she said, "My pants are falling off," just like that. She's got a very big Southern drawl, and we just love that. Love her for that. My pants are falling off. Lisa is asking, do you have to track macros? So repeat what you said before, because you just said no. Go ahead and
I don't
repeat
even know.
that.
I don't even know what a macro is. So I would no, you don't track anything. All you do is make sure you're eating healthy, delicious food.
You
And
cook the food and you eat the food and you know it's the right food because you're
there's
working with me.
right. And you just the main thing is you make your menu and you stick with your menu for that week. And and you eat, when you're hungry.
We
It's very simple, really.
we had another woman in a Thursday group and she came the first night, and you know how on the first night when somebody comes into the group, we all tell her our best advice for getting started in this group, and we ask her if she has any questions. Well, she said, how do you know how much to eat? What do you do about portions? And everybody started to laugh. And then they all said one by one, there's no portions. Eat what you want. Eat however much you want. Fill your plate and eat it and see how you feel. Like they just all said, there's no portions, there's no counting calories, carbs, points, macros, none of it. Does that answer your question, Lisa? Kathleen says she craves vegetables. I love it. All right.
Right?
Okay, so the other thing I want to say is yes, plateaus can happen and weight loss slowdowns can happen, and they often do. And it often can go on for 2 or 3 weeks. If it goes on longer than that, something's up that we need to fix with the food, right? That's what that means. But it's perfectly normal to maintain your weight, and even like a few ounces up or that kind of thing, even to maintain your weight, because honestly, the human body is amazing and we just really don't know what it's doing to lose weight and how it redistributes the fat and how does the fat get out of the body and what does it do with all that water and what happened to all those lentils I ate last night and whatever. We don't know how the body does that. So we have to give our bodies some grace. And when you're working with me and you know that you're following your menu, then you know you have the trust in the process because you've seen yourself be doing it and you see all the other women every week doing it. So you have like a certain level of trust that you might not have when you're floundering around on your own, right?
Right. And one thing that I also really helpful is maybe every 6 weeks or so, Naomi would have us take pictures over 3 days of our meals. And then she would go over it with us and say, oh, well, looks like, there was too much time in between your meals, or you're not eating enough, or you didn't get enough fruit or whatever,
Whatever it
and
is for you.
right. And then you can just go back and tweak it, tweak your menu for the next week. And so that was really helpful to really sort of dial in, what you're eating during the week.
Daily food intake photo challenge, right?
Yeah.
That happens at week 7, and then we do it every 6 or 8 weeks or so, as long as you stay in. And especially if a plateau happens. If a plateau doesn't happen, we don't need to do it. But if a plateau happens, then we do it. So having those time-stamped photos, that's how we figured out you were eating late, because it was 3 nights
Right.
in a row, eating after 7,
Mhm.
and that's how we figured it out.
Yep.
So Dawn says, Sharon, here's your friend. Sharon says, can you speak to meal times versus grazing?
So, generally you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then you can snack in the morning or in the afternoon. I mean, that's generally what I would do is eat. I never used to eat breakfast, like a lot of women, I think.
Yeah.
Now I get up and I am hungry and I, eat maybe a bowl of oatmeal, and then maybe I'll have a piece of fruit mid morning, and then lunch, and then I sometimes I don't have a snack in the morning, but I definitely usually have a snack in the afternoon around 3 or so, and it could be an apple, it could be maple salted crack
Crack
popcorn,
popcorn.
or some hummus and veggies, something like that, and then I'll have dinner. So, um, yeah, I mean, I generally, you know, didn't really feel hungry outside of, those eating my regular meals and a snack. I felt
So,
really satisfied.
so here's a similar question. Dawn is saying, is there intermittent fasting in your program? No, there is not. And there is also not grazing. Those are two polar opposites of the same thing, dieting. The word is dieting. If you're intermittent fasting, you're dieting because you're restricting your eating. And if you're grazing, you're dieting because you're trying to eat tiny little bits and spread it out to the day so like it's not so much. And you might say to yourself, no, I'm not really doing that. But yes, you are, because we are programmed to be dieters from the time I was 16. When did you go on your first diet?
My mother put me on a diet when I was 10.
10 freaking years old.
Yeah.
So we're programmed to
Oh,
do that.
yeah.
I remember I learned when I was 16 also that if I smoked cigarettes and drank coffee, that I would not be hungry. That's dieting.
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting is dieting. Now, if you're perfect weight and health and you want to try intermittent fasting to boost some whatever thing you want to try to do, that's awesome. But as long as you are overweight with chronic health conditions, it's just dieting, and it will feel like dieting, and it will cause a rebound effect, and it will not help you. And it's the same with grazing, because you're never fully satisfied when you're grazing. You're just nibbling. And also, you have no idea how much you're eating when you're grazing.
I think
Yeah.
one thing that was challenging for me, and I think it's true for a lot of women, is making sure I was eating enough, because I think I was, especially at dinner, I think I was really programmed that, oh, well, I should have a small meal at dinner because otherwise I'm going to gain weight. And that just wasn't the case. I mean, if I was just eating, my fruits and vegetables and grains and protein and, the healthy fats, it just works. It really does.
You got
So,
to eat the food to get the result. And a lot of times I will say, boy, you're really not eating enough, or boy, let's add up those calories. Let's actually look at calories and see if it's even enough to support weight loss, which is a whole lesson that we go through.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's see. Kathleen says, what do you do if you're not hungry?
Don't eat.
Yeah, we got to work out the 3 meals,
Right, right.
and we got to eat the 3 meals. So if you're not hungry, we got to figure out why you're not hungry. Okay. Lisa says, do you batch cook or do you cook a new meal each day?
I
Uh,
I I batch cook, then
yeah, we
and
all do.
yeah, you have to. I mean, that
It's
would
part, it's part.
I mean, I work full time. It's, I can't cook every night. That would just be too much. And the one thing that I really learned is batch cooking and then freezing things and having those on hand, because that comes in super handy when you
Yeah.
just can't deal with, anything except heating something up. So,
Freezer gems, baby.
yep.
Yeah. All right. What's the one thing? Here's the last question. What is the one thing we did so far during this program or our support group meetings that by doing this, it made everything easier for you?
I would say the meal planning. I feel like that was the foundation for me to be
It's simple.
successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You grab on to that magic menu and you
Yeah.
just boom, follow it. And
And you're good. And I
and the
can't believe I'm saying that. I never thought I would ever say that.
and the crazy subsides that way.
Yeah.
You make it delicious, you make it doable for yourself, and the craziness, it just floats away.
Yeah.
And that's how we get started with this. Um, all right. So everybody, you guys asked some amazing questions. And Carla, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. We've been on for 40 minutes talking about this, and these women really were asking you some very specific questions. So I
Yeah.
like that.
My
Really
pleasure.
having a real conversation. And that's what we do during our meetings. We have very real conversations.
Yep.
So I hinted to you guys that I was thinking about starting 2 new groups, a morning group and an evening group. And so I had such a good response to it that I'm going to go ahead and start those groups. If you're interested in joining a Diet Rebel group, if you want to invest in yourself in this sort of a manner to go through this weight loss and health transformation all the way, I'm opening up my 12-week Diet Rebel weight loss and health transformation group program right now. I'm announcing it right now. You can comment Diet Rebel evening or Diet Rebel morning, and I will be able to reach out to you on Messenger, and I will be able to send you those program details right over Messenger. Okay. I
I just want to
will.
say that I just wanted to say that I found the group really supportive and super helpful. I learned so much from the other women in the group. And so if you think that's something that would work for you, I recommend you check it out, because it really made a difference for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And for anybody who's wondering about like the price and how much is it and how much is it, it is a chunk of change, huh, Carla?
Yeah, it is.
It's a chunk of change. And then continuing for a year is a chunk of ongoing change. But it's very personal. It's very personalized and it's very real between you and me. And what is happening and what you experience is also very real and life changing. And so
Yep.
that's why it is expensive in that way. It is very valuable. And I will be able to, so I'm going to ask you a few questions in your Facebook Messenger if this is something that you're really serious about, like Carla was, and you do not want to have high cholesterol and high blood pressure and high glucose and meds and pain and all this stuff anymore. If you don't want it, this is here for you, but you've got to make the move. You've got to make the move first. and I can send you all of that information over Facebook Messenger so that you have time to read through it and understand what this program entails. Okay? So I'll be looking for you to comment Diet Rebel evening or morning, and I will reach out to you on Messenger. And me and Carla have to go because the Wednesday night Diet Rebel group meeting is in 15 minutes, and I got to get my dinner out of the oven, which I'm so excited because it is rainbow ratatouille pasta, which it smells so good in my kitchen. And that's the feeling you want when you're eating, right? That's the feeling you want about your meals. You want to be excited about it. So thank you, Carla. Thank you, thank you, thank
Sure.
you. I think that
My
so
pleasure.
many women got so much out of this. And I will see you in 15 minutes
Okay.
on the group.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks,
Good night,
everybody. Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye.